What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rays, and you're back with another legendary guide. And today we're looking at the gun that's probably the hardest to pronounce. We're looking at the Molten Eidola. And now this is a legendary one-shot rifle, which has a very unique tier 3 perk called Ravenous Locust. The shots create a swarm of locusts, dealing 258,000 damage over 10 seconds and inflicting weakness to enemies remaining within the 6 meter radius of the target. This does have an 8-second cooldown, but obviously with the fact that it's 8 seconds cooldown and it lasts for 10 seconds after you shoot, you can constantly keep stacking up, obviously only to 2, but you can stack up those area effects really well. Now, what do I love about this gun? Well, aesthetically it is brilliant. So the fact that you've got fire out the end of the gun, you've got loads of dotted skulls all around the weapon, and it just looks like it's a kind of twisted take on the rifle. It looks like some kind of casing is just taken over it, and it's just some kind of symbiote. It just looks amazing. So I can't sing any more praise than what this currently is. Now, because it's a one-shot rifle, we do have some very unique interactions with that, with the fact that if anything is added to your build, whether it be a perk that increases your mag size, or you add in the armor mod that increases your mag size by 10%, both of those will add an extra bullet into this mag. So any kind of increase will just add another bullet. So it takes a one-shot rifle to a two-shot. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but when you factor in the fact you've got to reload this for 1.4 seconds every single time, unless you've got something that changes the reload on the gun, you're going to be putting out a lot more DPS with the fact that you're now firing 2, and that's the kind of trade-off that this gun has. The fact that it only has 1 bullet in the gun. It's a high risk, high reward, because obviously if you miss that shot, you're then going to be spending the next minute, not minutes, but a second or so, just being able to reload to then try and fire off another shot. Now, the fact that you can then increase that to 2 gives you a little bit of leeway, takes a little bit of pressure off you, but also you're firing a second shot a lot faster than you would have done if you'd had to reload. And that's what I love about these one-shot rifles, and I hope they do actually keep that, and I hope that is an intended feature. Now, I know this isn't the highest firepower one-shot rifle or Molten Eidola that there's out there, but 79,000 is pretty decent, so I feel like I can actually chat about the stats about this one. So to have damage that is just over 29k in the shot, to then have a crit multiplier of 200%, just bog standard, that is a lot of damage that you can put out just without even factoring in your build, without factoring any blighted rounds, any twisted rounds, any molten rounds, any increased critical damage, any mods that are on the gun, anything like that. This is really nice, and it has a lot of damage though. Obviously, like we've mentioned, it has a very low mag, but I feel like there's a way that we can get around that, and that's what I'm hoping to talk about in a bit. Okay, so we've talked about the rifle being good, we've talked about it being strong, and we've talked about how we can increase that magazine size to be able to just keep shooting longer. Obviously, it's only by one shot, but you know, it makes all the difference, especially when it comes to a one-shot rifle, and the fact that if you do miss that shot, obviously you've got a second one to follow that up. Now, I don't remember seeing much of the Locusts when I was doing the gameplay that's in the background of this, but I do remember that this gun, granted it was on CT10, but it was just annihilating everything that it just came up against, preferably in one shot as well in most cases. The only things that took a little bit longer were elites, and you can account for those and so on, but I think that this rifle could actually do well if you get a high enough firepower one to then actually potentially be able to build a one-shot class that can just take on pretty much anything, really. And maybe that's something I'll play around with, because I do have a soft spot for this gun, so that'll possibly be a build that I'll try for. So as always, what can we do to make this gun better? Now, obviously we can mess around with the mods. Now, I feel like the reloading when, and obviously inflict slow on enemies when they're previously wounded by this weapon, is not really beneficial. I mean, obviously you will be reloading quite often, but the fact that this gun deals such high damage in the first place means that you won't actually be affecting too many enemies in that kind of sense. The only ones that will probably survive will be elites, and by that point, is it really worth putting slow when you could actually put something on this to be able to increase its damage, or just keep it going? So there's a few mods that I would suggest for this one, mainly obviously depending on your accuracy, depending on if you're going to be body shotting or if you're going to be going for headshots. Now, I would recommend going for headshots at all times, especially with this rifle, but yeah, it obviously depends on your skill level. So what can you give? So Killing Spree is always one that I recommend on pretty much any video if we're going to be actually using the gun. Now, Killing Spree will give you so much more damage on top of this gun. The fact that it's got such high damage in the first place, you factor in 29k, let's call it 30, and 25% of that is 7,500 damage. Now, obviously that with the extra crit multiplier, you're looking at, well, either 15 or 22.5k on top of that, which then feeds into your builds and all the rest of your skills. Now that's a lot of damage, especially when obviously you then stack it another 2 times on top of that and you're dealing 75% extra damage, and it just keeps going and going and going, and you will basically become like a snowball that's going down a hill, just building up speed, building up momentum, and just absolutely demolishing anything eventually in the end. So there is that. Then there's also obviously the ways that we can factor in the clip size. Now, critical damage is essential. It's already got a high one. Why don't we just add to it? So you've got the tier 2 mod that allows you to deal an extra 50% critical damage after getting a critical hit. So you might as well get that on there if that's what you've got available. You've also got critical shots do not consume ammo. I think that's possibly a top tier one for this. If you haven't got killing spree, I would recommend going for that one, especially if you have the accuracy for this, because why would you reload in that sense? You might as well just be constantly hitting those domes and just absolutely wasting everything in front of you, and you never have to worry about your rounds running out if that's what kind of build you're going for, or just anything in general. You don't need a reload skill, you just need something to be able to keep you firing more. So yeah, I would recommend something like that. Obviously then you've got Embalmer's Rage, which is just a generic thing that goes on most guns at the moment, with the fact that you can get critical shots just anywhere. So that could also factor in. I think the critical multiplier on this is quite high, so yeah, you would benefit quite greatly from that as well. So would I recommend this gun to you? Definitely, but I wouldn't use it as a primary gun. Main issues you've got there are the fact that the ammo goes through so quickly, especially when you go up to a 2-round instead of a 1-round clip. Its damage is already high. Obviously you can get it further with the rounds, but the fact that the rounds only they're better suited on guns that have larger magazines, just to be able to replenish, when you have your replenish mods, to be able to get more and more back. Now it is possible if you get the one shots to be able to actually constantly add that back, but it's kind of it's like hit and miss. It's not an effective strategy from my experience. I would highly recommend having your AR or your shotgun that you primarily use for your rounds, and then when your skill actually does kind of fail in that kind of regard and you have to fall back on something, I would swap over to this. You've then got a high DPS, you've got the extra rounds in the mag, the crit multiplier will help you carry you through a little bit further, or be able to keep the DPS going until your rounds come back, and then you can swap back to your primary and just keep it going from there. The mod it's nice, it's not necessary. I wouldn't rely on it. The fact that it does deal weakness means that you are then dealing extra damage on follow-up shots, which is, like I said, it's kind of nice, but it doesn't, from my experience, I didn't feel like it had much of an impact. I feel like the gun was doing most of the work rather than the mod. So in this case, I would recommend keeping the gun. I'd play around with it quite a bit, and then just keep it as a secondary and just have a bit of a blast with it. And that is the Molten Eidola. I hope you've enjoyed the gameplay in the background. I feel like I've shown it off to a decent degree. I feel like you would get some kind of grasp whether this is the gun that's going to be for you, or whether it's something that you do decide to scrap in the end. I hope you don't. I did have a bit of fun using this gameplay. It did have a bit of a change up from the fact I'm constantly firing my burst rifle to actually picking off my shots, to actually keeping my aim on target and all that, and just choosing that side. So yeah, I hope you've learned something useful. If you have, please drop us a like, please drop a subscribe. We'll be back with some more content. Normally I'm running these daily at the moment, so there'll be another legendary guide coming out tomorrow. And as always, keep yourself safe, and I shall see you on the next one.